The sun was bright. It was a beautiful day in the village. This village was small. It was surrounded by a huge green forest. The forest was full of life. Birds sang in the trees. Monkeys chattered from high branches. For the village children, this forest was their playground. It was a place of adventure and mystery. They knew its paths. They knew its secrets. This vast wilderness was a part of their world, a place where their imaginations could run wild and free, creating stories and games that would last a lifetime. They respected its power but also felt a deep connection to its rhythms. A young girl named Anaya had a plan. Her plan was simple. Her plan was fun. She wanted to play Ludo, but not just anywhere. She wanted to play in her favorite spot, a special clearing deep inside the forest, a place where the sunlight danced on the ground. Anaya gathered her best friends, Ravi and Priya. They were always ready for an adventure. They grabbed their colorful Ludo board, they packed some juicy mangoes for a snack. Their excitement was like a bubbling stream, full of energy and anticipation for the fun that lay ahead. The children set off. They walked into the green-leafed world. The air was fresh and cool. It smelled of damp earth and sweet flowers. They followed a winding path, a path they had walked 100 times before. They laughed and talked, their voices mixed with the sounds of the jungle. They were not afraid. The forest was their friend. It was a place of comfort and joy, a sanctuary where they could leave the worries of the village behind and just be kids, enjoying the simple pleasure of each other's company and the beauty of nature. They soon reached the clearing. It was perfect. A large, flat rock sat in the middle. It was their natural table. The sunlight shone through the leaves above. It created beautiful patterns on the forest floor. This was their secret spot, a place where they could share stories and play games for hours. They felt safe here. They felt happy. The clearing was their own little kingdom, a space carved out by nature just for them, where the only rules were the ones they made up for their games, and the only currency was laughter and friendship. Anaya carefully unfolded the Ludo board. She placed it on the flat rock. The bright colors of the board, red, blue, green, and yellow, looked amazing against the gray stone. It was a splash of man-made color in a world of natural greens and browns. Ravi and Priya helped set up the small playing pieces. Each child chose their color. Anaya picked red, the color of courage. Ravi chose blue, like the wide open sky. Priya selected yellow, as bright as the sun itself. Their excitement grew with every piece they placed on the board. The game began. The sound of the dice rattling in a small cup was sharp and loud in the quiet forest. Clack, clack, roll. A 6. A cheer went up from Priya. Her first piece was out of the starting area. She was on her way. The game of Ludo is a game of luck. It is a game of strategy. You must decide which piece to move. You must hope for the right number. The children were completely focused, their eyes glued to the board, each roll of the dice holding the potential for victory or a frustrating setback. Laughter filled the clearing. Ravi rolled a 1, again, and again. He groaned in mock frustration. "The dice do not like me today," he exclaimed, and his friends giggled. Anaya was doing well. Her red pieces were moving steadily around the board. She was close to getting one piece home. The mangoes they brought were sweet and delicious. They took bites between their turns, the sticky juice running down their chins. This was more than just a game. It was a shared experience, a moment of pure, simple happiness spent with the people who mattered most. The competition was friendly but intense. Priya sent one of Ravi's pieces back to the start. "Oh no," he shouted, but he was smiling. Teamwork was not part of Ludo, but friendship was. They cheered for each other's good rolls. They teased each other for their bad luck. The sun moved across the sky, the shadows grew longer, but the children didn't notice. They were lost in their game. They were lost in the fun. It was a perfect afternoon, a memory being created in real time, woven from dice rolls, laughter, and the magic of the forest. Suddenly, a sound broke the rhythm of their game. It was not the sound of a bird, it was not the chatter of a monkey. It was a low, slow, slithering sound. Sssss. It came from the thick bushes near the edge of the clearing. The children stopped their game. They held their breath. Their laughter died in their throats. Their eyes widened. The forest, which had felt so friendly just moments before, now seemed to hold a dark secret. The air grew heavy with a sudden unspoken tension, a primal feeling that something was wrong. Slowly, a massive head emerged from the leaves. It was thick and powerful. Its eyes were dark, unblinking beads. The head was followed by a body, a long, thick, muscular body covered in a pattern of green and brown. It was an anaconda, a giant of the jungle. It was not moving fast, it was exploring. It was probably looking for a sunny spot to rest. But it was huge. It was a creature of immense power. The snake's sheer size was breathtaking, a living, breathing testament to the untamed power that resided deep within the jungle's heart. The anaconda slid further into the clearing. It was only a few meters away from their rock. Its body was as thick as a tree trunk. It moved with a silent, deadly grace. The snake lifted its head, tasting the air with its forked tongue. It wasn't looking at the children. Not yet. It seemed calm, simply moving through its territory. But its presence changed everything. The clearing was no longer their kingdom. It belonged to the snake. The children were just small, vulnerable visitors in its powerful domain. Fear, cold and sharp, gripped the children. Priya let out a tiny gasp. Ravi's hand froze above the Ludo board. Anaya felt her heart pounding like a drum against her ribs. All thoughts of the game were gone. The colorful board, the dice, the little playing pieces. They seemed silly and small now. The real world in all its dangerous beauty had just entered their game. This was a different kind of challenge. This was not about rolling a 6. This was about survival. This was man versus wild. Anaya's mind raced. Panic was the enemy. Fear could paralyze you. She knew this. Her father, a village hunter, had taught her about the forest. Never run wildly, he had said. Be quiet. Be smart. The forest respects those who respect its creatures. She looked at her friends. Their faces were pale with fear. She knew she had to be the leader. She put a finger to her lips, a silent signal for them to stay quiet. This was a test of nerve, a moment where instinct and training had to overcome the powerful urge to scream and flee. Slowly, carefully, Anaya started to move. She did not stand up. She slid backward, off the far side of the rock, away from the snake. She moved like a shadow. Ravi and Priya watched her. They understood. They followed her lead. They moved without a sound. No sudden movements, no loud noises. The anaconda was still exploring the other side of the clearing. It hadn't noticed them yet. Their quiet, deliberate actions were their only advantage against the massive reptile's senses. Every inch they moved was a victory. They used the big rock as a shield. It was between them and the snake. Once they were behind it, they moved more quickly. They stayed low to the ground. They moved from the rock to the cover of a large banyan tree. Their hearts were still pounding, but their fear was now mixed with focus. They were a team. They were working together to escape. This shared danger had bonded them even more tightly than their game of Ludo. They moved as one unit, each one relying on the others to stay calm and silent. Once they reached the edge of the clearing, they didn't stop. They walked quickly and quietly back down the path, not looking back until they were far away. Only when they could see the familiar huts of their village did they finally stop and take a deep breath. They were safe. The forest had taught them a valuable lesson today. It is a place of wonder and fun, but it is also a place that demands respect and caution. Playing games with friends is one of life's greatest joys, but being aware of your surroundings is the key to ensuring you can play again tomorrow.